Hi there and welcome. Steve Wills here. Thanks for joining me. In this video, a bit different, I thought I would try to condense 3 years worth of articles into this short presentation. Ted Williams, the greatest hitter of all time. When you say that something has hit the sweet spot, what that means is that you've got something just right. And Lotus Notes did. It was fun, easy to work with. What couldn't you do? It was fast. You could churn out applications in no time flat, and it was futuristic. Those applications were absolutely state-of-the-art. The human towers in Catalonia, Spain. Fantastic. They absolutely incarnate what it means equitable distribution of value added. And that was the key to Lotus Notes. It provided a tremendous return on investment for companies. Both business partners as well as Lotus were robust and healthy, and it was all due to an equitable distribution of value added, and that beyond dollars. Scarlett Johansson in the movie Lucy. The Notes client was everywhere. It was absolutely essential for any company working with email and collaborative applications. It offered the best of breed rapid application development environment. And by way of reminder, I'll put some of those attributes here up on the screen for you. Simply stated, it was the complete package. Winston Churchill, the English bulldog. You might remember this famous homage he gave to the RAF pilots in World War II. I took some liberty and put this around for Lotus Notes. I was really surprised at the poor level of development that I saw in the various companies that I would visit. But hey, maybe the developers behind them were actually the first citizen developers. One can only hope. Marketing, pretty weak. And how about the competition? Again, I was absolutely astonished at what was being passed off as a collaborative application development environment. It was truly a team effort, unfortunately. Well, it was on to the web and away from the Notes client. It was fun. No, not so much. Fast? Certainly not. Futuristic? No, it would be an emphatic no to that one. And that certainly is what made Lotus Notes not so great. But then everything changed. ACL entered the game, and now Notes client runs natively on mobile devices. We are back to the original paradigm with a new universal corporate interface. Fun, fast, futuristic. But there's a catch. Yep, you guessed it. What looks good on a 17-inch PC probably will not on a smartphone. So what to do? Mount Everest. Nothing like getting away from it all. Yes, we know where the crowd is going. But what I'd like to present here is something which more represents the philosophy behind the technology of Notes. Can we first look at making the Notes client effective for mobile devices? What do I mean by that? Can we leverage what made Notes great in the first place? What if we could develop new mobile apps using the traditional Notes RAD platform? What if we could find the perfect paradigm to automate processes? Who could compete with that? I do believe that Notes can be the pace setter once again. So let's take a look at form as opposed to function, intelligent display components, reactive relative to the screen size. I believe the platform needs to dynamically and transparently resize those display components, for example, dialog boxes where the user needs to intervene, selectively display those components, depending on the footprint, of course, and provide intuitive navigation, which might be navigating columns in a view. For this to happen, I believe frameworks are the key, and that to reduce complexity. So on to frameworks. Here, we need to target corporate process automation. This is what makes reactive display components possible. Why? Workflow applications are highly structured. They lend themselves to a uniform presentation. And let's face it, they leverage all of what Notes Domino is about. So how do you see these workflow applications? Do you see them as being fancy villas or row houses? Automating ubiquitous company processes successfully means providing essential information, making a decision, and moving on. It's all about efficiency. It requires that all the applications look and feel alike. And for that to happen, it requires an alignment of both form and function, which implies imposing structure, which reduces variations and complexity. Again, frameworks. And of course, we're focusing on the boring 90% of back office workflow applications. Look, it's nice to look good going from point A to point B, but not at the expense of having to learn how to drive. So turning now to our user community. The true cost of process automation is user burnout. Each new application impacts the entire personnel chain, developers, users, administrators, right down the line. Complexity and cost are multiplied with each one, and each new application increases the likelihood of users simply becoming overwhelmed and unable to cope. Not another application to learn. So drilling down into the presentation, views are all about process. The essential information here, I'll simply enumerate on the screen for you. And again, it's all about uniquely identifying documents in a view and where they are in the process. That's all that's essential. And this can be constant between applications. Content, what goes in the basket? Of course, we're talking about documents here. And here I see 4 basic tabs. The workflow tab, that would contain the usernames of those who can potentially intervene in a process. That would be hidden. Details would vary from application to application. Comments, that the structure of which would remain constant between applications. And the historical log, user interventions, likewise, the structure remains constant. And the key for the details, which varies between applications, it's for the system to assist the IT professional as well as the citizen developer to structure data such that it presents well on smart devices. Back to Lucy. Notes Domino will be everywhere once again. The best-of-breed RAD environment for mobile devices. This is what Notes is. This is what it is for IT professionals and for hands-on architects, our citizen developers. We simply need the right approach to make this reality. So how do you see these Power Business users? Do you see them as tech-savvy users or hands-on architects? I believe that these power users need to intervene in those parts of the application that directly affect the business, not be concerned with syntax, CSS, JavaScript, so on and so forth. And while we're at it, why not manipulate documents instead of graphics? Think about it. Workflow requirements specifications could be intuitively expressed in a document, where each page of that document defines what occurs at that point in the process, a state document. And fields within the page can be associated with various application events. And the real kicker is, what if those documents were interpreted directly? Now there would be no layer between the graphics and the code that's generated behind it. What you see is what you get. Everything right in front of your eyes. The framework. A document-driven state model. Think of state documents as being structured routines for Power Business users. These interpreted documents can come straight out of the box thanks to the LotusScript evaluate command. And then applying those to the @formula commands, we have a citizen architect front-end language. We can define rule routing, emails, document updates, so on and so forth in structured documents around document events. We have, of course, the IT professional LotusScript backend language, and we can now apply code abstraction to create that connection between the IT professionals on the back end and hands-on architects, citizen developers on the front end. And of course, we have the integrated email, personalized notifications to alert users, and so on and so forth. A document-driven workflow for a distributed document database system. It kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Thanks for joining me.